And then we fade in, fade out to a shot on the stage of John Waters singing. This is the first time we see the musical side of John Waters. What he is he's a struggling musician trying to make it big in New York. Hence the song New York, New York, which I personally recorded with one of my friends in a recording studio. My favourite shot here.
Yeah.
I love this shot. Walk the line shot.
Because this was filmed in the school hall.
The shot has come out really well, that I will say. But yeah, that's again him just playing there. Then we've got Comes a Story of a Musical Outlaw, which I quite like, which is followed by, the whole Outlaw thing is followed by this really quickly edited, basically him going
scene.
Mental in a room.
That was one of our first shots that we did.
We did that age ago. You'll notice the hair and the beard is all...
So once again, with the change of Jimmy's appearance, it's showing that this film will be covering
vast period of time.
And because like I said, this is one of the first shots that we did in the music block at our school. We were able to get a hold of... whose guitar was that?
That was my mum's guitar that I smashed up.
Did she miss it?
No, it was out of tune anyway, but it was a childhood heirloom, so I do feel a bit bad. Anything for artistic intention, I told my mum.
And that was a whole one-shot take. We spent a good about 45 minutes
just planning,
just rehearsing it. Like I had because I tried to.
You caught it really well, didn't you? You did. You created like a
steady cam. I pressed the tripod up against my chest to try and remove any shake, so there was no chance we were going to be able to do this again. But me and Jimmy, we worked on it and we rehearsed it again and again, and then it just
come out smooth, didn't it? I mean, and the way I edited it, I hate saying that, was really simple. Basically, in all of our shots, there's transitions. Like there's hundreds of transitions to choose from on the Final Cut Express program, but I chose to string this together without transitions, because I just thought it'd look a lot cooler if we had that bang bang
sort
bang
of jump
effect
cut
of three
effect.
shots. Yeah. So and that's worked really nicely, which shows his rage, which then moves on into even more rage, which is the screaming on a boat. Do you want to talk about that and how it was silent? And
yeah, because this was the boat was a tourist attraction, so there were people on the balcony above us. So Jimmy had to do a silent scream for this, but you just don't notice it because the whole sound removes from the trailer itself. All you hear is New York, New York.
We actually had feedback, didn't we, as well, saying, you know, how did you just scream on a boat?
Yeah,
we actually didn't.
No, we had to think about it because we didn't want people coming like if someone was in trouble.
And then if we move on to the shower scene, we get a rip in for that, don't we, every time?
Yeah. There's always a shower scene.
We love a shower scene.
Yeah, we do. And
go on.
Filmed in the YMCA once again.
And again, a focus pull there at the beginning.
Yeah, so it's that sort of like feels sort of defeated. He's just cleansing himself. He's just washing it all away. And like as he like turns his head, you can just see him like getting lost within himself. Moving on to we filmed the shot with John Waters outside on the telephone just on the streets of New York by the YMCA. Now, because we didn't have any of our own lighting source, so we just had to like hope it came out good. But from just the street lights, it cast this sort of golden glow, which gave it a really good sort of 1950s feel and just made it feel like sort of a noir.
And then basically we do a nice little jump cut here of a phone swinging, which is obviously to show, you know, he's heard something he doesn't want to hear. He's dropped the phone, and then you've got a shot of his boots, and then you can see the tyre behind there, and then it's just a cigarette. Is it smoke? Really like that shot. It's just literally a cigarette laying on the floor, smoking up, and there's all the smoke's coming off of it. And then the character John Waters simply walks off. Now, drive elevator. We love a bit of drive elevator.
Yes. This scene filmed. I think we did about 20 takes of this.
Hilarious.
Off to the left, we had our friend Jay Collins. He was operating the doors for the elevator, so he was pressing them open each time so that we could just continue doing the shot. Now we tried it a variety of different ways. With you standing in the middle, you with like sort of jacket, you leaning, but with this one, I think it's just sort of like showing his defeat or something.
It's like it's like when his head drops when the elevator door closes. It's almost and then the titles come up, which is a typical convention because you think that the trailer's over. You know, the door's shutting, that sort of symbolises that's it. The trailer's done. But then typically, as we have in a lot of trailers, there's a couple more shots of footage. I mean, I really like this shot. This is a great shot.
Once again, filmed back on the boat, the Staten Island ferry, and had to do a sort of steady cam shot. Originally, this was like a 180-degree shot, Jimmy, and we finished on this. But by doing this, we can just show the single tear coming down his face, just showing his emotional conflict.
You know, he's not. You know, it shows that John Waters isn't this hard person that's just going through his life, ruining himself with drugs. There is emotion under there, which is, I think it's quite symbolic of, you know, the scene in The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke where he talks to his daughter at the end, and he's like, "Oh, I'm an old broken down piece of meat," and then he has that single tear coming down his face, sort of like that. And then in this last shot here, really nice sky, and the Statue of Liberty's in that shot as well. I've just noticed that. that's actually quite cool, isn't it?
Yeah, that is quite cool. And just the horizon is perfectly centered across the shot, and it's just the sort of like
out to distance, that ambiguity again that we wanted to cause with a trailer,
and just all the red sky in the background. It's just
red sky, shepherd's delight.
Right, yes, it does.
We love a bit of that.
So it just shows that things can get.
There is hope.
Yes.
Over the horizon, there is hope. And then finally, in theatres, 2012, which is in theatres is the American way of doing it. Because, as we said before, ours is an American trailer rather than a British one. A British one would have been in cinemas. But I think it works really well. I mean, that's a convention, is it? You know, you're not stating a date. It could be out any time. Who knows?
2012, letting them know it'll be this year, but once again, they have to like try keeps their interest because they know they have to like be aware of this film, so they have to know when it's coming out so they can see it.
And well, that is all from me and Liam, and we'll hand you over to Jamie and Dave.
Hello, my name is Jamie Mordner. I'm the producer of The Resurrection John Waters, and with me today is editor Dave Clarke. So Dave, we have a couple of questions for you. The first one is, how effective is the combination of your main product and ancillary tasks?
Well, after looking through genre, we noticed that in westerns, like a typical western film, they have like the sort of the dusty looking clothes, denim sort of shirt. We decided to look through a couple of films, and we noticed that we used the same clothes, the boots. The
guitar was also obviously key in The Resurrection John Waters.
We use props as well. We had a heavy influence of like cigarettes. So in a typical western, you see there's a lot of smoking going on in that sort of Texas area sort of thing. So yeah, we wanted to make it apparent that the use of cigarettes was quite heavy for our protagonist character.
Obviously looking at Walk the Line, Crazy Heart with Jeff Bridges, and I'm Not There. Obviously you get a sort of taste of what Western genre is all about, especially for us through Walk the Line, because that was obviously one of our key influential films. And obviously I think with Mr. Phoenix playing Johnny Cash, you kind of get the feel of Johnny Cash going downhill with a sort of spiral. And that's kind of what we tried to use in both our main product and ancillary tasks, didn't we? And obviously that kind of worked really well for us, obviously with costumes and props.
And conventions, like typical, like the Brill cream hair, had that all slicked back. We wanted to make it look like it was in that hot area, because we used like warmish sort of filters, like a lot of lighting when filming. Also, for editing, we used the same font. So we used this font called Engravers MT, which was like a very simplistic but quite bold font. We used that throughout the film, but when it came to like the teaser trailer, I found a particular font called Vanilla Whale, which was I searched on this Western fonts website, which is just luck, I suppose. But that acted very well, and we used that on the poster and the magazine cover, so that was great. But I don't think we used that in the titling of the actual film. But we
obviously, within our main product, we used the song God's Gonna Cut You Down by Johnny Cash, obviously covered by Jimmy Gore, our lead actor, and we obviously wanted to follow it up with what to be our teaser trailer, which was actually shot partly in New York, and for us some of them shots were absolutely brilliant. But obviously and obviously the song New York, New York, again covered by Jimmy Gore, was superb. And the soundtrack for us was really key. Not only just looking at soundtracks from Walk the Line, but everywhere really, and just trying to get a feel for not just the character's emotions, but will also make the audience have some emotion towards the character. And the soundtrack for us was huge. Again, looking at the Southern American sort of accent, and that was key really. That was a main protagonist.
Yeah, we got help from this other person called Rory Bell, and he played the piano for us. And obviously a piano was it's like a typical thing in westerns, where you go into the bar, you get like a pianist playing these typical songs, and then you got the singer. The question here, haven't we, Jamie? Can you read that out?
Yep. The other question is, what have you learned from your audience feedback? And obviously the use of constructive criticism, as well as they've also given us a few sort of improvements and tips that we can actually go over to try and help our work sort of improve. And the ability to go back over our work and improve what has been given to us proved beneficial, I thought. I don't know what your thought is in it, Dave, but for me that was again another key area to our success.
To be honest with you, after watching the teaser trailer fully, I was one of the ones that gave some feedback, like looking over it, because I usually focus on the print work, such as posters and stuff like that. I noticed that there was like a spelling mistake, so I'll just let them know about stuff like that, because we don't want to have a tiny mistake like that ruin the film. But we got some feedback on the sounds, and people liked the way that we put a New York song onto some footage that was quite violent, so it gave that contrapuntal effect.
It's up to you.
And then at the end, we've obviously got the crying. So the music works well with the film, creating a effective and emotional trailer, and it doesn't give much away, I'd say. Well,
now obviously with our shots from New York, we can't exactly go back over to New York all of a sudden, because we haven't got the budget, and obviously we haven't got the time. But for us, you know, any little detail that we can go back and look over, me and Dave as producer and editor can go back over as a team. And me and Dave work very closely together in editing and production to look over things and see if it's all right. Yeah. And if we have any problems, well, I wouldn't say it's exactly criticising. I'd say it's sort of constructive criticism, really. Just stuff that we can go back over and we can improve as a team. Yeah. And me and Dave work very closely along with Liam and Jim to try and make our film as best possible as ever. Obviously, me and Dave working on editing and production. We obviously do a lot of print work, such as the magazine and the poster.
Audience feedback on
and
that,
also audience feedback on that is again vital to sort of improving our work.
I had to make at least 3 or 4 drafts on the poster and 4 drafts on the magazine cover. I went over it, and the teacher he managed to notice things that maybe weren't so effective, like for instance on the magazine cover, the layout of the fonts, the way that we had titling. But in the end, I managed to. I looked through Bing, like the images and Google Images, for a variety of teaser posters and teaser front covers. And I noticed I got them all, right, and noticed all the conventions, and I used them effectively in the actual posters and thingy. So that means I could back up my points, back up any sort of criticism if someone was to say, "Oh no, I've never seen that before." So I could say, "No, well I have," and there it is. But yeah, I kept the whole vintagey Western appearance with adding like a sort of warming filter. I did that to poster and the thing, and added some shadows. I just wanted to keep that sort of warm look, keep that essence of Western, making it look like an American film.
Absolutely, Dave, and that's all me and Dave really have to say, unfortunately, for today. It's been a great privilege to work with you, Davo, and obviously with the team. We've had great fun, and hopefully many more films to come in the future.
That was the 4 Horsemen's main task and ancillary task teaser evaluation. Thank you very much for listening.